Alright, middle aisle team. This is going to be an overview of the entire sound design implementation for the final build of the game as of April 30th, 2022. So we turned in this build yesterday. This is what we told our faculty advisor was essentially the final minimum viable product that we would be turning in. This is the game that we feel most comfortable calling finished, but we still feel could use some more work. And we're going over sound design implementation for Alex to be able to implement his own sound design using FMOD for his own project. I'm gonna turn off gizmos here. Now, I have turned off the canvas, and I've turned on the armature, which is our standard practice when we're making edits to the game build. But you need to turn the canvas back on and the armature back off for building, so that it's properly set up for the opening intro, for the splash screen, main menu, and intro cutscene. So, the audio manager is the thing that handles almost all of the sound in the entire game. Not all of it, but almost all of it. Basically, this is an audio manager that is essentially almost directly copied from the Brackeys audio manager tutorial, with a couple of extra little lines of code that I put in there for stuff like randomized footsteps. Excuse me. And I will be going over each of these sounds, where the call for them to be played exists in the code. So, go into scripts. Where the call for them to be played exists in the scripts. And then I'll also go over just a couple of other bits and pieces of audio that doesn't exist in the that doesn't exist specifically in the audio manager, because it needs to be directional or it needs to be called in a certain way, that kind of thing. So we'll start with the footsteps. Footsteps, we've got 5, and they are basically, this is one of the additions that I made to the normal Brackeys audio manager. Oh, Visual Studio is messing with me. So, walking and walking soft, two different functions that basically play a random footstep from within the range of the array. This entire sounds section is an array. Now the footsteps just plays a random one from a range within the array, from 0 to 5 for regular footsteps, from 18 to 22 for soft footsteps. So these are called, and they play a random footstep. Now, where are these called from? Is the player movement script. So player move. This is probably one of the most complex scripts in the game. Under movement, here, this region, we've got we should have, oh no, it's not under the movement region. It is underneath interaction. So, step is called from animation events that exist inside the animations for walking and running, and this calls walking soft or just walking, whether or not the soft terrain boolean is true or false. Soft for soft terrain, regular for regular terrain. Like I said, we wanted to just do a boolean, just have the soft terrain sounds be the same for grass and carpet because it was easier to implement, and because we barely had any time to implement any extra audio. So that's how the footsteps work. That takes care of quite a few of these, actually. All of these, and we can move on. Test audio. That's the doors. Door closed, door locked, door open. So these are called from the door controllers. Where that is, that's under interactables. The door controller, if the door is locked when she tries to open it, then it plays, I guess door open. If it's not locked when she tries to open it, then it plays the open sound. If it's locked, then it plays the locked sound. And when it closes, which is triggered by a separate script, then it plays the close sound. But we don't have any doors that automatically close in the final version of the game. In the earlier versions of the game, we had doors that you would open them up and then you walk in and they'd shut and lock behind you, and it was like a dramatic little thing. But we didn't have that included. So that's a vestigial remnant. If for the in the meantime, though, that's where those are called. Door locked and door open. Pickup. This is another one that's from the player movement under interaction. Oh wait, no. See, I forget what happens in this stuff. No, pickup is called from the item pickup script. When she clicks on an item, when the player clicks on an item, and all of the parameters are appropriate, from the interact, what do you call it? from the regular interact parameters, we've got override void for item pickup. When she interacts and it's an item pickup, all of the parameters are appropriate for the item to be picked up. It plays the item pickup in the item pickup script. There's that. Opening the inventory. So this is one that has to do, I believe, with player movement, which is also just kind of like, because this is all in spaghetti code, this is all of player interactions in the actual game is all based on the player movement script. This is the inventory, and all it does is set the inventory to the opposite of its activation. So, and this is some extra caveats saying, like, if the dialog's open, can't open the inventory. If the pause menu's open, can't open the inventory. Inventory.open inventory, it just calls the inventory, and the inventory sets itself to the opposite of what its current state is, and it plays the open inventory audio. That's also why we can't have why we don't right now have a different sound for closing and opening the inventory, is because it plays the same audio, because it's the same script that closes it as it does open it. I could add a little check in there to check if the inventory is open and then play a different audio, but I don't have time. So this is where that plays. Click. What? Oh, yeah. So the click is when you select a... the click is when you... select an item in the inventory, and that should be called by the inventory script, which is in the game management inventory. No, it's not here. It's been so long. Oh, inspector. Yeah. So the inspector is basically what opens up when you click on an item. And it's an overlay that toggles like the big item image for whatever item you clicked on, the script, all of that stuff, all plays in the inspector, or is all in the inspector. Once again, the inspector just sets itself to its own active, unless it's to the opposite of its active state. If it's the same item, if it's a different item, it just changes the item, and either way, it'll play the click sound, which basically is just you clicking on a new item or clicking to open or close an item in the inventory. So Lisa's voice. This is the audio dialogue sound that you hear when dialogue is scrolling, and that plays from the game management script. Because no, it doesn't. It plays from the interactables. I believe it plays from the Yeah, this will happen. This will happen sometimes. I will forget where stuff is. The dialog menu. We've got game management. Yeah, I believe that the game manager handles dialogue, right? See, this is difficult because now we get into the stuff that I didn't actually program. Inspector, inventory UI. Dialog Manager. There we go. Yeah. So, and under this one, I believe that we can also talk about the next bit, which is the dialogue open and close. We can talk about those while we're in the Dialog Manager. That'll be great. So, the only voice sound is actually the fast one. So when you are the dialogue enumerator basically is scrolling the text. So every single character in the text line, it scrolls individually, and this is what helps us have it scroll at a rate, hold the space bar, and it scrolls faster. And every single time a character in the line types in the scroll, it plays one of these little blip sounds, which is basically Lisa's voice fast. And that way it'll play at a faster rate when you're moving. When you hold the spacebar and the dialogue moves faster, it plays at a slower rate when you don't hold the spacebar and the dialogue scrolls slower. So you don't need to worry about Lisa voice. You just need to worry about Lisa voice fast. That's the only one that plays because it's the faster version. When we tried to play the slower version, we got some really nasty audio artifacts because it was constantly cutting its own self off. So just the fast one. And then the dialogue close and open is also handled here. When you start the dialogue open sounds happens, and when the dialogue ends, the dialogue close sound happens. And this is where those are. That's it. Excuse me. Now here's where we handle ambience. Ambience is a little complicated because basically what we've got to deal with is we've got two different ambience states. We've got the interior and we've got the exterior. And ordinarily, I would just say, oh, you play the interior, when she's in the interior, play the exterior when she's in the exterior, or play the interior when you open the game, and then change to the exterior when she's in the exterior, except for the fact that our exterior is this weird shape, and Unity does not like to have trigger boxes, trigger colliders with concave sides. And this is actually kind of a huge pain in the ass. So instead, what we need to do is, I'm going to turn gizmos back on. I needed to have 2 ambient state changers at both of the areas where you enter and exit the outside. So what I needed to do was have you start into the game, the interior ambience plays automatically, and that is something that the armature, the player movement does. So if I go back into player move, when you start the game, interior ambience plays, and you set audio manager.audio.ambience equal to true. That is an extra little script on the audio manager. It's got an ambience boolean that is true or false. So you set the interior ambience to play when you start the game, and it will play and just loop. And then when you pass through one of these, it will basically, when you exit this collider right here, it will alter the audio to change it to the other state. So if it's exterior, now it's interior. If it's interior, now it's exterior. There's a bit of a bug with that, but it almost never comes into play. So we opted not to fix it for this this final version of the game. I can probably fix it later, but it's kind of a pain, so I'm not going to right now. I won't get into it. Basically, so you start the game, you play the interior ambience, you pass through one of these. This script. No, show me the script. Oh, okay. Well, fine. I believe that is on the interactable. No, that's in game management. No, where's the script? Yeah, I get that this is an initializer, but I want to see the trigger script. Fine, I'll open it up here. Audio trigger, or outside trigger. If it's playing, if the ambience is false, then it plays the, yeah, so when you exit the collider, it plays the opposite ambience, basically. Sorry, where was I? So you enter into the game, it plays interior ambience. You pass through one of these, it changes the ambient state. And then we've got to deal with the fact that you can save the game when you're outside and then enter into the game, and if we didn't have this extra caveat, then it would play the interior when you're outside, and then you'd go pass through one of these and it would play the exterior. So for that, we have this outside trigger. This is a couple of boxes, this is one script trigger that triggers a couple of boxes with this initial outside script special that I cannot seem to find where it is, so I'm just going to open it from here. And what this does is basically it makes sure that the outside ambience is playing, and then it destroys itself. And that's all it does. So you show up in here, exterior ambience plays, and then interior ambience plays when you pass through one of these. You show up in here, interior ambience plays, and then exterior ambience plays when you pass through one of these. Simple. And all of that is basically just in those two scripts plus the armature player movement script, just to make sure that the correct ambiences are playing at the correct times. And this one stays as itself even if you spawn inside, and then when you enter outside for the first time, it just makes sure the exterior ambience is playing, and then it destroys itself. Easy. There's that. Now, that's it. The ambience is complicated, and I'm sure there's a better way to do it, especially with FMOD, but that's how we worked it out with the barely any time we had to get this done. And I wanted to say that the reason that we couldn't just do this for making sure that the exterior ambience is playing is that you would exit one of these colliders while you are out here, because we can't just make this one collider because Unity doesn't want to make it concave, and which means that you would pass through this line right here while you were still outside, and it would start playing interior, and then you pass through this one while you were coming inside, and it would start playing exterior again. It's a pain in the ass that I'm sure there's a solution for, but I am not a programmer. I paint pictures. Let's go back to the audio manager. So that's the ambience. Now we get to the light flickering. Light flickering is super simple. We've got a oh yeah, here's where these are. We've got, yeah, there's the ambience controller. A flickering light script somewhere in here. Flicker control. Right here. And oh, this isn't actually where it happens. Yeah, so basically this just makes the lights, some certain lights randomly flicker. So instead, I suppose I will find one that flickers. This one's got the flicker control on it. And underneath it, we've got a flicker control sound source. And this is not actually calling to the audio manager. Because this needed to be directional, and the audio manager is universal, where we wanted her to walk by a flickering light, have it, have it sound off, like hear it flickering, and then walk past it and not hear it flickering anymore. And the same is true for the fire, which I'll get to in a moment. So basically, I'm going to exit out of isometric perspective and show you what this looks like. The light is down there. Flicker control is up here, and that's because the camera is up here. We couldn't have the light down there because then, and the audio listener on Lisa's face down here, because then she would turn around and suddenly the audio would be in your other ear, even though it's still coming from the same direction where you were positioned. We wanted it to always be coming from the same direction it was relative to you seeing it on the screen. That was important. So instead, what we end up doing is we end up putting the audio listener on the camera, so it doesn't ever change position. It doesn't ever rotate. And then we put all of the sound sources for all of the directional sounds up on this plane up above everything. So for every flickering light, there is a sound source way up here next to the camera that produces the flickering light sound whenever the light turns back on. And then it stops whenever the light is off. And because of the way that you made the audio, which was very good, that Alex made the audio, which is very smart, the light blinks when it turns on, it does a little tink sound, and then it has a constant kind of flickering, constant kind of like electric light sound, and then it goes back off when the light goes off. Super easy. And there's not even any programming with that. It's just that the fact that this entire object turns off, which means that the sound is no longer making any sound. That's it. Similar to that, I guess while we're on it, we can talk about the fire. We've got a special spatial audio sources one for this one, because the fire object was already made into a prefab and placed everywhere, and we didn't want to re-prefab and replace it. Or it wasn't made into a prefab, it was placed everywhere without being a prefab, so we didn't want to replace all of them with a prefab that had this audio up here. Basically, the fire audio is the same deal. We've got fall off for the fire audio that looks like this, really quite similar to the flickering lights. And we've got the fire, which is not called by the audio manager, because once again the audio manager is not directional. And when she walks by the fire, there's fire. Easy enough. I can collapse these and go back to the audio manager. We already took care of the soft footsteps, the dialogue open and close, and now all we have are the pause and exit game sounds. These are triggered by the in-game UI in the pause menu. Nope, that's not it. In-game UI controlled by the game manager. Right? Yeah, so, when the open menu is called, and this is called by the player movement, right? Yeah, in-game menu. When escape is pressed, we go game manager, open menu. And in the game manager, you open the pause menu, and your character can no longer move. We bring up the pause menu. In-game UI is set to active or inactive. Once again, this is just a toggle, which is why we can't have a different sound for pause and unpause. We just have one, which is pause game. And then in-game UI itself, when you're in there and you press in-game UI itself, when you're in there and you press exit game, then it plays the audio manager game exit sound, which I will just locate right now. If I can remember how we did this. Yeah, so canvas under the in-game UI. Yeah, all of this. The quit or the main menu is what triggers that. Yeah, and that goes to game manager, opens the main menu. Oh my goodness. So go to game manager. And I believe that it should be around here. Yes. Opening the main menu. When you call main menu from the UI, which is the only way that this plays, then the audio for exiting the game plays, and that just happens with the audio manager. And that is all. I will try and remember if there are any other. I'll try and remember if there are any other audio pieces that I am missing that aren't these spatial audio sections or listed in the audio manager right here. But I do not believe there are. I believe that this is it. If there are that I forgot, then I will edit them in right here. But in the meantime, thank you for your patience, first of all. I know I took a while to get this done. And thank you for doing your own audio design for this game that we spent a long time on, because I'm very excited to see what you come up with. And I'm sure that whatever it is, it'll be a hell of a lot more, at least more elegant than all of these clumsy solutions we've come up with to try and figure out exactly how to do this, do that, to figure out how any of this actually works. This game was in a lot of ways hugely hacked together, especially the audio component, because I was the one who took care of a lot of that. Fong's programming is a lot more sensible in many different ways. But, you know, we work with what we've got, and considering what we had, this game that we've come up with, it is pretty impressive, if I can say that. I will update you guys as well, just in case we add any other audio effects towards the working towards the final game build in the next couple of weeks. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching.